Hello. Welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am here to give an update to my Read What You Own challenge, where I've been challenging myself to read 100 books that I already own before buying another book. And this challenge will eventually morph into the 500 book challenge once I'm done with the first 100. Now, I have skipped 2 weeks of updates. I have just been in a non-video making funk. I'm sure other creators know that funk when you just don't feel like sitting down and making a video. So I will put extra descriptions in below in the video description saying the books that I read for week 8 and week 9. I'm not going to go over them because that would make this video much too long. But I will tell you what I read for week 10. And this officially marks me at 50 books. So I am halfway through the 100 book challenge and only 10% through the 500. Well, anyway, the first 2 books were 45 and 46, and they are audiobooks, and they were The Restaurant at the End of the Universe by Douglas Adams, the second in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy. And 46 was Life, the Universe, and Everything by Douglas Adams, the third in the series. Now, both these books had their absolute hilarious moments. The Restaurant at the End of the Universe was a little more cohesive, a little more of a plot that held it together. Life, the Universe, and Everything sort of had a plot, sort of a lot revolved around the game of cricket. Now, I know that there exists a game of cricket that's played in England and India and maybe some other places, but I have never seen cricket played, a whole game, and only have the most rudimentary knowledge about cricket. So some of those references just, went right over my head. And the third book also felt a bit rushed. I know Douglas Adams is famous for saying, I love deadlines. I love the whooshing sound as they go by. And I sort of felt that this third book, that deadline had come and gone for a long time. And he was sort of rushed to finish this book, to sort of belatedly meet a second or a third deadline for his publishers. And it just didn't hold together. There were still some very funny moments. I think the funniest moment in the third book was an alien, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce it or remember it from the audiobook. It's unpronounceable in my mind. It was about an immortal alien who went around with the goal of insulting everyone in the universe. So he comes to a stranded Arthur Dent. Arthur Dent is going to think he's going to be rescued, and the alien walks up to him and goes, "Are you Arthur Dent?" He goes, "Yes." He goes, "Arthur Dent, you are a jerk." Crosses his name off a list and flies away because he's just insulted Arthur Dent. And he shows up a couple of times in this book, and it's just sort of a notable goal, if you were an immortal alien, to insult everyone in the universe. Maybe I should start an insulting short for everyone on booktube. I wonder if that would be funny. The next book I read was Unknown Man number 89 by Elmore Leonard. Elmore Leonard is one of those great crime writers. This was from the 70s. And it is the story of a serving processor, the guy who serves papers for lawyers when you're being sued. And he is asked by this mysterious man from Louisiana to track down a man because this mysterious man from Louisiana has some stocks that he knows about that this man can inherit. But the deal is only he knows what stocks they are. So the mysterious man, or the unknown man, has to go through the Louisiana man to get those stocks. And he's going to take like 50% of the value. And it's a lot of money. So it evolves looking for this man. He has a very drunken wife. And it goes on from there. It was a fun little crime novel. I did not like it as much as 52 Pickup, or what was the one, the Swag. Those are the first two in this series. I like those two a lot. And Unknown Man 89 was okay. If you're reading this collection, the library, don't skip it. It's good enough to read, but I don't know if I'd tell you to go seek it out as one of his best. After that, I finished another audiobook. I'm holding up a physical copy of this because I just happen to own the physical copy that I read in the 90s. This is a novel translated from the Japanese. It is after World War II. It is the story of a young boy living alone with his widowed mother. And one night, his mother brings home a sailor for a tryst. And he has a peephole where he can watch them. And it is the story of this boy and this sailor. And it gets into some very disturbing things that these boys do, because they are underage. They are under the age of 14, and by Japanese law, they are not responsible for their own actions when you're that young. And they decide to experiment, and their experiments get gruesome. And it is also a very existential novel, because it is the story of the sailor who has spent his whole life, adult life, on the sea, and he is going to give up the sea to eventually marry this woman. And that's all I'm going to say about this book. It is a good short novel. It is a classic of Japanese literature, and I can highly recommend it. After that, I read The Fall by Albert Camus. I actually read this on my Kindle. Yes, I own a Kindle copy and a hardcover copy because I'm just that way. And this is the story of a lawyer in Amsterdam, and he's talking with another man, and the narrator is giving his account of his life, how he fell from being a lawyer in Paris to sort of just a man who converses with strangers in a bar in Amsterdam, and life's existential crisis that brought him there. Now, this is the third of Camus' finished novels. The Stranger is probably my all-time favorite novel. The Plague is a very intriguing story of the bubonic plague hitting a town in Algiers and their quarantine. And I read that when the pandemic first hit. And it is still poignant today. The only thing about the plague is that that's an analogy for Nazism. This one is very interesting and intriguing. I think it's a more realistic depiction of Camus' existential crisis in an adult human being, but it is not as good as his other two novels. I think some people like this better, probably because it's a more realistic view of an average human being dealing with the existential crisis. If you have not read it, it is still very worth your time to pick up this novel. It is very short. You can read it in a day. It is like 140 pages. I know I just read it. Yeah, 147 pages. So you can read it in a night, usually. And at book 50, which pushes me over the halfway mark for the 100 book challenge, was a DNF. And that was Samuel Johnson's Eternal Return by Martin Riker. It is a contemporary novel. It was written around 2018. I had bought it on my Kindle when it was on sale. And one day I was just looking for things to read and I noticed it and I said, okay, I'll try it. It is a story of a man named Samuel Johnson. And he dies suddenly when a strange man approaches his home. And he is widowed and he has a young son. And what happens when he gets killed is his soul, his consciousness, sneaks in to the body of his killer. But the killer himself dies shortly afterwards, and his conscience is set up to a plane flying above where he's in another body. And his soul keeps getting transferred from body to body after the body the man, Samuel Johnson, is housed in dies. Now, he does eventually learn to somewhat control the body he's inhabiting, but I got to about page 125 out of about 280, and I decided, I'm just not really enjoying this much. That was when I was doing a reading sprint with MJ at Reading This Life, and I had done my first sprint as reading the book, and MJ came on. She was talking about the book that she was reading and how much she was really enjoying that book. And I'm going, I want to enjoy my book just as much as she is. So I decided to DNF it and pick up another book. And the book I picked up was a continuation of Juan Valencia's Poking Holes. I still have to finish that, maybe this week. So that is the wrap up for week 10 on my Read What You Own challenge. And halfway through 100. Woohoo! But only 10% for the 500. I think I'm going to fail on the 500, but maybe not. Well, anyway, thank you for watching and keep on reading.